Look at Monday morning, Alaska, a brand new week, and we've got a lot to talk about in the weather department as we do have a first alert weather day that's in effect for the interior where we're seeing some heavy snowfall. We'll be talking about that as well as what that means for south central, southeast, and yes, we are going to talk about the return to winter's vengeance later this week. And then coming up later in the show, if you are joining us on Facebook or YouTube, we also have a section where we'll go to the live streaming segment after the overall forecast for the state. And we'll be talking about Nevada snow supplies, where everyone who's not prepared for winter like Alaskans are, Reno, in areas like Reno, they're sending people to the stores to look for supplies. And we also head to Oklahoma, where tribes in Oklahoma, they're getting help from Montana and Wyoming firefighters, as well as heading out to Indiana, where a horse was found upside down in a sinkhole. So a lot of great stories, as well as more of those weather stories from across the lower 48. But before we get to that, we will talk about what's going on across the state. Let's give you a live look at what we're seeing outside as you head in south central. We do have those mostly cloudy to overcast skies that remain with us. While we can't rule out some sunshine breaks throughout the day, largely expect that cloud coverage to stay with us as we head through the rest of your Monday. And in fact, for many areas, we'll see that cloud coverage steadily thicken up, and that will lead to the return to some possible snow showers later this evening. But we do have a first alert weather day, which is in effect for the interior. This is for heavy snowfall that's going to sweep through the region. Up to 18 inches of snow accumulation will be possible. And then as we welcome in our Tuesday, we're going to be watching some periods of blowing snow, which will move in from the west, and really expecting most of that windy conditions to primarily encompass parts of the Tanana Valley. So we'll see some blowing snow, drifting snow, and some reduced visibility as we welcome in our Tuesday. We'll also see some winds that will build back in across south central into our Tuesday as well. So before we get to the overall snow that we're seeing across the interior for today, notice how much snow has fallen since Valentine's Day for Fairbanks. 22.9 inches of snow accumulation, so just under 2 feet, which is the highest ever recorded for Fairbanks from February 14th through February 22nd. And we're going to continue to add on to that. It is possible that by Wednesday morning, some parts of the interior could be sitting at about 40 inches of snow accumulation when you date back to what has fallen since Valentine's Day. So yes, it has been a stormy last 2 weeks across the interior. Now, temperatures for the whole, as a whole to start off this morning, not too bad. We're talking about temperatures in the single digits and the teens. Now, Toke did wake up to those sub-zero values this morning. While we are expected to see the return to some sub-zero values later this week, today and tomorrow will keep temperatures in the teens and the 20s for highs. Of course, the bigger concern continues to be that heavy snowfall that will sweep through the region. So you can see temperatures today, again, expected to warm, teens and 20s. Of course, we'll see that push of warmer air arriving later this evening into the overnight hours as that warmer push of air begins to build back in across the interior. So heavy snowfall, rounds of heavy snowfall stays with us today into the overnight hours and into your Tuesday with just some lingering activity by Wednesday. So if you're driving on any of those highways, the Steese Highway, the Elliott Highway, the Dalton Highway, even down through the parks and the Richardson Highway, be prepared for some localized visibility issues. Of course, those hazardous road conditions could be a concern as well here over the next couple of days, particularly in areas that tend to see over a foot of snowfall accumulation, because you're really not going to see those plows out and about until most, if not all, of the snow has come to an end. So those road conditions will certainly be a big issue until about Wednesday morning, when we begin to see some of that action on the roadways, with the activity picking up when it comes to those out on the roads, beginning to move some of that snow. So wait until Wednesday before we really begin to see that action with those roads being cleared. But for today and tomorrow, heavy activity to be expected. And again, storm total will top out near 18 inches for some parts of the interior. Now, this is taking into account what fell yesterday and through the overnight hours. Notice, though, as you head through eastern parts of the interior, where you're going to see a lot less snowfall. This is where those winter weather advisories are in effect. and we're only going to see about 3 to 9 inches as you head through parts of the eastern interior. So from Togue out towards Eagle, Circle, Fort Yukon, even as you head just really for locations east of Fairbanks is where we're going to see some of those lower snowfall totals. Now for the central interior west, this is where we're going to see about 9 to 18 inches of storm total accumulation, and most of that tapers off by early Wednesday morning, and then beyond that we are going to see our next transition to our bigger weather picture, which is going to be the return of winter's vengeance. Of course, when it comes to that snowfall through the interior, you can see for Fairbanks, numerous models keying in right on that 5 to about 10 inch mark. Of course, you can see that one lone model that's coming in at about 10 to 11 inches, while the others are pinpointing about 5 to 9 inches. So we're going to go about 5 to 10 inches of additional snow accumulation for Fairbanks with some locally heavier amounts. And again, tomorrow we will be watching some winds increasing. Today, winds won't be much of an issue. If we see any winds, they will be very isolated in nature and only about 20 to 40 mile per hour wind gust. But then overnight into tomorrow, those winds begin to pick up from the west. They will strengthen as they move in from the west, and you can see areas of the central interior, the Tanana Valley. This is where we could see winds of about 40 to some pockets gusting up to 60 miles per hour. So while today is just going to be heavy snowfall being the bigger impact, tomorrow will be the ongoing snow that continues to fall through the interior. In addition to that, those windy conditions that will grip parts of the interior. And again, if you live through the Tanana Valley, this is where we're going to see some of the strongest winds. That quickly tapers off overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. So again, those winds strengthen as we welcome in your Tuesday through the Tanana Valley, which will lead to periods of blowing and drifting snow. So be prepared. Visibility will decrease at times as we welcome in your Tuesday. So there it is, your 7-day forecast. Again, a first alert weather day for today with that heavy snowfall that's still gripping a good portion of the interior. We're at 18 tomorrow, and then there's the return to the bitter cold conditions as winter's vengeance builds back in across the state. You can see afternoon highs drop anywhere from 10 to 20 below, while the overnight lows for Fairbanks will drop anywhere from about 20 to 35 below. The coldest stretches of the interior will see lows later this week anywhere from about 40 to 50, 55 below. So those notoriously cold spots, Birch Creek, Fort Yukon, locations that tend to be a lot colder than the rest of the interior. Be prepared. Later this week, you will see lows as cold as about 40 to 50 below. And the interior is not the only one who's going to see the return of winter's vengeance. This is the overall outlook we've got across the state. You can see we've got some lingering precip out towards Norton Sound, parts of the Seward Peninsula. This is where we're seeing primarily snow, but temperatures are warm enough at the surface and aloft that we are seeing some wintry mix mixing in through parts of Norton Sound. So we do have some residual impacts for areas of western Alaska, but those winter storm warnings and other warnings that we do have for western Alaska, those expire through the day. We're really just going to continue to hold on to some localized areas of wintry mix and some gusty conditions. But that snow in the interior, that will shift south as we welcome in our Tuesday. And we'll see some light snowfall across south central. Nothing to write home about. Anchorage may see about a trace to an inch of snowfall accumulation. Into the valley, we may see about 1 to 3 inches. Heaviest snowfall accumulation for south central will be east of the Richardson Highway as you head through Wrangell, St. Elias. Elsewhere across south central, we may just see an inch or so of that snowfall accumulation. But there's our ridge that remains with us. Notice though, as we welcome in our Tuesday, that ridge has more of a north-south pattern across parts of the state. So that's going to funnel in some of those cold northerly winds as we welcome in our Tuesday. And south central through the day tomorrow into the evening hours, we'll see the return to some gusty conditions. Be prepared for south central to see winds of about 30 to 50 miles per hour through your Tuesday. Those northerly winds will be the big driver that's going to pull in those colder conditions across Alaska. In fact, you can see that cold Arctic air that's diving through the state, and by week's end, all of us will be sitting up under this cold weather pattern, and it's going to stay with us to close out February and welcome in March. But again, tomorrow we will see some gusty conditions across south central that will lead to those wind chills sitting in the teens and the 20s. That will drive in that colder weather by midweek. You can see 8 degrees for for the high by Wednesday. Single-digit lows or single-digit highs stay with us by week's end. Some parts of the valley may actually see highs by Thursday and Friday, potentially sitting in sub-zero values, if not right around 0 degrees. And while Anchorage will drop about 10 to 11 below Thursday night, keep in mind Anchorage tends to be a lot warmer than the rest of South Central. So areas like the Kenai, Soldotna, as you head through Trapper Creek, Willow, out towards Talkeetna, and then of course through the Copper River Basin, we'll see areas of South Central dropping anywhere from 10 to about 20 below by week's end. So yes, we are seeing the return to some bitter cold conditions across the state, and that will likely stay with us as we close out this month and welcome in March. With that being said, once that colder air settles in across the state, we will see much drier weather. That's going to spread across a good portion of Alaska. We've also got increasing snow showers that's going to build in across southeast. There is a winter weather advisory that is in effect for Juneau, as we are expected to see that snow arriving. Today is largely on the dry side. For Juneau and surrounding areas, you'll see that better chance for snow arriving into the evening hours, carrying us on into your Tuesday. But there is a winter weather advisory in effect from 9 p.m. this evening through 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for Juneau, for total snow accumulations of 3 to 4 inches, so nothing significant. But notice by Wednesday we could see a chance for some wintry mix that will mix in at the surface, and then we kind of dry out by week's end. But even the panhandle will tap into some of those colder conditions as highs drop into the 20s by week's end, overnight lows into the single digits. We'll also be watching while here across South Central, temperatures are sitting in the teens and the 20s. As you head just a few hundred feet above the surface, we're actually seeing temperatures climbing above freezing. So there may be a brief opportunity this evening before that snow arrives that we could see some localized areas of freezing drizzle or wintry mix. It will be just before that precip arrives, so just a brief opportunity of seeing that, which could lead to some slick road conditions. So keep that in mind tonight. Of course, we'll see that light snowfall arriving as we welcome in your Tuesday. And again, just some light snowfall accumulation to be expected. Before we go, we'll give you some beautiful shots from across the state. This is heading out towards Resurrection Bay, thanks to Jillian Chapman for sending in these fading lenticular clouds. And those lenticular clouds, those are the ones that look like stacked pancakes on top of a mountain peaks, or some people consider them to look more like flying saucers. They are indicative of some turbulence in the atmosphere. That's why anytime you see lenticular clouds, you tend to not see any airplanes flying around that, as that's where you tend to see a lot of that turbulent activity in the atmosphere. If you happen to head out this past weekend, you may have caught some views of the Northern Lights. This one coming in from Willow, thanks to Tamara Erickson for sending in that photo. And then we head down to Nanilchik. That'll be the next photo. You can see this is a sun halo and snow tubing, thanks to Scott Staples for sending in that photo. Beautiful weather conditions we did see over the weekend. While it wasn't too hot, while it wasn't too cold, it certainly was fairly nice outside with those temperatures sitting in the 20s across a good portion of South Central. There it is, the Aurora Nights coming in from Big Lake, thanks to Bonnie Church for sending in that photo. And then there's the Nanilchik Lights from Ann Platt. Beautiful shot there. And then if you have any plans, head to the interior through the end of this month and into early February. The World Ice Art Championships are underway. And of course, we've got those winter storm warnings that remain in effect through Wednesday morning. So just be alert of that. But you can see beautiful conditions, beautiful shots of some of that ice carving. This one showing the beautiful state of Alaska. As you can see, the words carved out there. A lot of those ice carvings that you can see in Fairbanks. And again, that runs through, I believe, at least the first week or so of March. So that was a look at what we have going on across the state. Again, we do have those winter storm warnings for the interior. The winter weather, the first alert weather day remains in effect for heavy snowfall up to 18 inches. And keep in mind, since Valentine's Day, Fairbanks has already seen right around 2 feet of snowfall accumulation. So that heavy activity has been ongoing for a good portion of the interior. Coming up after the break, if you are on Facebook and YouTube, you can join us on any of the live streaming services, or go to our website at alaskasnewssource.com and click on the live stream. And we'll be talking about those stories we were talking about, as well as first graders in Nashville, Tennessee, those who have been without power following that devastating ice storm that occurred last year. They're saying thanks to some of those linemen. We'll have that story and more coming up after the break.